Hello, this is Professor Angelia with part 2 of Works of Hearts. Why is everyone so angry, class? Okay. And of course, last time we talked about, when someone screams at us, it's alarming. We don't expect that type of behavior from people. Okay. Some people just have a different standard of acceptable anger. Unexpected rants are upsetting, and if we were doing our best, it can really turn us off of working for this person further. They can remind us that they are the boss. They may criticize us for ruining their business. Some people are just screamers. In some businesses, it becomes a cultural how-to for addressing a problem. People learn from example. This usually stems from being unable to deal with people in a healthy or empathetic way. It's their way or the highway. Using anger to assert power backfires. Your out-of-control behavior will only be tolerated for so long. A California Berkeley professor likened it to a brain disorder where patients who had a particular part of their brain injured could not model empathetic and socially appropriate behavior. This makes people more impulsive and insensitive. Sympathy is overcome by selfishness. They will usually rationalize their bad behavior. No one should be abused, even in the workplace. Usually, you'll need to switch jobs to find any relief. Chronic anger has a price for everyone, employee and employer. Your well-being can only take so much before it's fight or flight. Talking it out with someone can help. Anger stemming from frustration is usually the dominant kind in the workplace. Anyone can become frustrated at any time. When you let off steam, you feel better. You feel less stressed. We are really judgmental. And if we don't think someone is doing their job properly, we can lose it. Frustrated bosses can get angry. They just don't want others outside of work to know it. Bosses can forget their own responsibilities. If they leave the task to someone else, they expect it to be done, but stuff happens. The worker may be absent. They expect things to be responded to quickly. They may label people lazy or as having a bad attitude. They may be receiving pressure from their bosses on why a thing hasn't been done yet. So the pressure goes on down the line. We can even be cursed out sometimes. They may feel like they need to light a fire under you to get the results that they want. This makes them feel better, like they got it done somehow. However, the person receiving such verbal, emotional abuse will most likely report it. They may get chewed out by their superior or a control agency and be in bigger trouble than the person who got cussed out. Only then will they feel like a victim. Only then will they understand that their out of control anger has consequences. They realize that they were the bad guy in this situation. They may still feel like you were at fault for not getting done what they wanted you to, when they wanted you to, but they were the ones who lost their temper. They may be the ones who get punished. They may justify their anger, but how they express it is not effective. Most people would like to keep their positions if possible. Out of control emotions are rarely acceptable in human resources' eyes. There may be a thin line between acceptable and unacceptable. Clear protocols about emotions in the workplace should be laid out in the employee handbook. Otherwise, when emotions flare, employees may feel on their own, like they are flailing, or like they are failing. Our dislike of angry people is almost reflexive. Here are some of the labels our minds come up with for angry people: unprofessional, overbearing, overly assertive, hostile, mean, immature, spiteful, out of control, malicious, crazy, weak and violent. No one should want to be thought of as these things. No one likes to get yelled at, especially at work. It's more disturbing if the boss is a female. If a boss is unavailable to help us with a question, and we take the initiative to find out and do what needs to be done, the boss may be upset that we took the initiative to do a good job without their input. No matter how good of a job you do, it's never enough for some bosses. Yelling at coworkers is inappropriate, and nowadays can land you in a lot of hot water or fired because of workplace violence incidents. Most companies take threats seriously. Some bosses come in early and leave late, but delegate all of the work to others, never actually doing anything themselves. They just like to look busy. They complain about how much work they have to do. See something here. Then delegate it to others and take off early for lunch with the husband or wife. Some bosses pile on the work without ever wondering if it's actually possible for that much work to get done in a day's time. Some bosses show you all the sweetness in the world until they get upset. Then they turn into venomous snakes and attack. Most workers feel undervalued in their workplace. 1 in 6, to be exact. The number one complaint is that they are recipients of misplaced anger. Most people polled had a story where they were attacked without warning or reason for something that wasn't their fault or was out of their control. Even people who work for themselves report running up against nasty colleagues or people that they do business with. The most extroverted people seem to be spared the worst ventings. Flagrantly expressive people seem to get a pass, too. The gossips seem to get passed over for the gripe out as well. What's the difference? Someone wanting to vent may not want to attack an extroverted person, who may want to have a discussion about the problem and actually try to help them solve it. They may not want to attack a very expressive person because the scene they make may be bigger than they want. And the gossip, they know, will spread everything they said to everyone who will listen, and maybe even add some of their own embellishing spice for extra flavor. Nope. The everyday, the mousy workers are the safer targets. Being attacked at work for something that you had nothing to do with, or something that was out of your control, is the worst feeling you can have in the workplace. Even viewing such an attack causes us stress. Being scared for your job does not make you work any better or harder, but can actually cause health problems that lower productivity. We also don't tend to behave very well when we have been blindsided. We start playing the blame game too. We may even rip into anyone we think did have some hand in whatever the incident was that we got griped out for. We may tell the wrong person the details and hear all about it from everyone in the building the next day. Some people are willing to bail if anything goes wrong, so replacing them also takes time. Some people like their jobs and just don't want to leave a job where they are being abused or bullied because they value the job more than they hate being attacked. I've heard stories of bosses screaming in people's faces, turning red, vein bulging attacks. They said everyone in the building, and maybe the next one over, had to have heard the yelling. Eventually, no matter how much you like your job, being treated that way will start to affect your mental, emotional, or physical health. And you will have to cut your losses to keep yourself healthy. We all have a line that once crossed, we just won't take anymore. We finally have enough. We quit. We weigh the amount of stress, the money we are being paid, and any benefits we are gaining, and decide that we are just too unhappy to continue in this situation. Some people get so angry that they cannot imagine not taking retribution. After all, science does say that bottling up your anger is unhealthy for you, right? Well, maybe. But people are more prone to heart disease who get angry in any way. Holding it in can cause stress, which is also bad for you. A happy medium is a balance. A happy medium of balance is the answer. Working in a place where you are being psychologically abused, constantly exposed to aggression, and feel abused in general, can do you serious mental harm. Women especially, who work in fields that were once traditionally men's, can face not only discrimination, but verbal, mental, and emotional abuse. Men may feel the need to dominate her to prove to their fragile egos that she really isn't as good as one of them. Men are rarely likely to admit that they don't know something that a woman does, or that a woman was right where they were wrong. A lot of workplaces have a working environment that is just downright dog eat dog, and the top dog wins. The more stress you are under at work, the meaner that you will be, and the meaner others around you will become if they aren't there already. I have worked at places where the motto is, the customer is always right, even if you know they are wrong. Some people think that this will lead to keeping a customer's business and them giving good word of mouth on the company. But that is not always the case. Not everyone has good intentions. And if they find that they can use and abuse your employees or services, then they will. An angry customer or client can be as bad as angry coworkers. Contractors for a business are always wanting to keep their autonomy and their way of doing things. So there is often friction there. Chronic, high stress, tense working conditions can really take a toll on you. Some people feel like it's worth it if they just make enough money, climb the ladder high enough, etc. Unfortunately, the people who put up with it the most are usually passed over for promotions, raises, etc., in favor of the squeaky wheels who complain. Some people get so angry, they throw things, which can be dangerous for the people around them. They are very clear about how they feel about things. Some people put family, friends, hobbies aside so that they can work more and harder. They may demand from their bosses to know why they are not being promoted like others are. Some bosses just have no idea how to manage their workplace, or they delegate too much and have no idea what is going on in their own company. When you realize this, it's a good idea to start looking elsewhere for employment. Bosses rarely take your well-meaning advice on how to run their company. Some workplaces are just poisonous to you, and the longer you stay, the more it will poison you. I have left volatile workplaces in favor of ones where the atmosphere is cool, calm, and collected, and where decorum is expected from everyone, and everyone is treated alike. Working at volatile places can make you rough around the edges, so that more genteel people will be shocked by your attitude or language. Truth is, when people act their age and live up to their educational level, work becomes much more pleasing, and you are more likely to be productive. We are appalled when we see adults behaving badly. Bosses should always talk to someone about an incident in private. All workplaces have demands, but we should handle these demands in a rational, decent, positive way. When you are no longer seething with anger, you can be a much better, productive worker. Some people even have to go to psychotherapy after leaving an especially bad workplace. Money doesn't solve all of your problems. Sometimes you may need to change jobs to find one that isn't so poisonous to you. Sometimes in midlife, people come down with bipolar, depression, and other problems that a stressful workplace can make much worse. Even though a boss may not know this, by treating everyone with respect and common decency, they don't exacerbate such illnesses. They may or may not feel bad about contributing to a person's mental illness. These people can go out on their own to be entrepreneurs and be very successful without a boss standing over their shoulder. People will still do things to you that you don't like, but if you're the boss, then you can say no a lot easier. Too much pressure on you can make you think irrationally, instead of rationally when you can sit and think without someone judging you. You just have to remember to keep the rationale in your life. And not try so hard that you are setting yourself up for more stress. You know what's best for your peace of mind, so should listen to yourself. If you behave badly in your own business, word of mouth will get out, and that will hurt you. If you become a vindictive boss yourself, then you put your own business in jeopardy. Sometimes we just have to do the best we can, then move on. We aren't in middle school anymore, and we don't need to hold grudges and keep enemies in mind. There will always be people who don't like you, but that's their problem. By keeping a clear and rational head, you are always going to be more effective at what you're doing. If you go around being a petulant hothead, no one will want to work with you. We should try to be the person who is the opposite of the person who we don't want to be. Always try to think things through before acting. Anger management teaches this. While slights always hit us in the heart, we can use our brain to think of what the best course of action would be. If you have volcanic rage and constantly blow up at work, it's time to get help. If you work for one of these people, then it may be time to escape. Counseling never hurt anyone. Especially women are vulnerable to workplace abuse and the effects of it. Trying to suppress anxiety and depression can be very detrimental to your health. But over-medicating when you don't really have depression or anxiety can leave you unable to express your true emotions. Psychotropic drugs can be a cover-up for the issues that need to be healed, not masked. We have fear, anger, and disappointment in the workplace, and just flowing through it like a zombie doesn't really help anything, except how we appear to others. If you feel like someone is overreacting to your legitimate feelings, don't let them pressure you into taking medication for a condition that you may not actually have. Because, that goes on in the workplace. Here, try these. Here, try these. You look tired. Here, try. I got this ADD med. Yeah, don't do that. When we devalue ourselves in favor of others, it only hurts our self-esteem in the long run. The idea of self-esteem is central to understanding anger. Most people get angry when something isn't going their way, the way that they think it should, the way that they imagined it would, the way that it feels like it should, the way that fits into their idea of their life's path. Anger is usually very personal. Some people really do have an anger problem that some medication can help so that they don't have a heart attack or stroke from chronic anger. A balanced personality should be everyone's goal. While it is good to be assertive, it's not necessarily good to be defensive every time someone speaks to you or asks you to do something. You can motivate others with a pep talk as well as you can by a tirade. And if you use your coworkers or family as your workers, coworkers, or family as an emotional punching bag to make yourself feel better, they will only take it for so long before they walk out the door. If you feel that you have a chronic anger problem, you may want to get some help before you run everyone around you off. And if you need medication, it can save your life. However, in some cases, drugs can mask things that would normally draw your attention to the fact that you aren't coping well. Making positive changes in your life that get you away from things that make you angry can help your outlook on your life. Knowing a little about anger can be good for business and good for you. Our culture is full of anger. Expression of emotion at work can be a positive experience sometimes. The exception to the rule is chronic anger. No one likes to be confronted by angry people. Anger is not good for business. An angry work environment does not make people want to work together or do their work well. An angry work environment can drive good people away. Everyone processes anger differently. We process our own and others uniquely. Learning about anger can help you to process it at work. If women understand that men are naturally wired to get more aggressive, they can expect that they will be. Men's behavior is still driven by primarily the primitive parts of their brains. That's science. That's not me. That's science. Their amygdala is more active, and they have a higher rate of epinephrine and cortisol levels. Thus, male anger should be less disturbing to women if they understand these facts. It's hard not to take someone's rants personally. Women are wired differently, and they get more angry at themselves and other women for getting angry because they don't think that they are supposed to. Anger has physical consequences. And if we thought about that a little more, we try a little harder to keep our cool. Coworkers, and indeed any relationship, should be more about collaboration than competition and winning. And that was our bell. So that's all for today. Hope you found this educational and informational. And that's all for now. Until next time.